Hey guys, Kojinto here, and these are my top 5 tips for having a better experience in the Trials of Osiris. Let's start with tip number 1, and that would be to not go into the Trials of Osiris unless you're level 32 or higher. Being lower than that just makes it so that you take a ton more damage and you dish out less damage. In a hyper competitive mode where every win matters, you need to bring your A game. That said, it is possible to do well. I mean, in this video and the gameplay that I have in the background, I'm a level 28 Titan going up against 31s and 32s, and if you watch all the way through, I end up basically carrying the team with a kill-death ratio above 3.0. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but it can be done. That said, I would only recommend you do so if you're like really really good at Destiny. Otherwise, make sure you're at least 32. I think 32 would be good. You're only a couple levels down. The difference in damage you're doing and receiving isn't too crazy. If you know what you're doing and you know the maps, I think you have the potential to do okay at that level. But lower than 32, and it starts becoming a real uphill battle. If you do feel like you are too low level, go into the Prison of Elders and go through the level 28 mode and the 32 mode and get yourself that gear that you can purchase with the rewards that they have in place. Upgrade your exotic, get that taken care of. Just take that day or two to get yourself to a competitive level. Tip number 2. Now, in the first tip we covered you being a low level and why you shouldn't go into the Trials of Osiris. For tip number 2, don't bring along friends who are low level. Now, I understand some of you may be like, oh, you know, he's my bro. I'm trying to be nice. You know, bring him with us, teach him the ropes, kind of thing. No, Trials of Osiris is an endgame PvP activity where wins are everything. That's the only thing that matters. Winning, honestly. In other modes, you know, I would be satisfied with, okay, I did well. Hey, I lost, but I did well, and that's enough for me. But not in the Trials, man. Wins are way too important. So you need to bring people who are as good as you, and or are a good level. They need to be at least level 33. I wouldn't bother bringing 32s with me if I'm a 34. You know, make sure they're all at your level, both on skill and character level. And again, if you're adamant with playing with your friends, and that's totally fine, I respect that, then take your friends through the Prison of Elders a few times. Get them to buy that gear, upgrade that exotic, like I said before. And then you're all good to go, and then you can kick some ass. And when I said, you know, I would take my friends if they're 32s and I'm 34, I was referring to, you know, a few weeks down the road when there's a lot of 33s and a lot of 34s in the Trials of Osiris, and I'd be 34 myself. I wouldn't want to bring, you know, a couple of low levels with me because that would greatly handicap the team. Now, early on, of course, you know, within the first week, that would be totally fine to be 32s and 33s, and you know, you're 32 and your friends are 31 even. I would say that's probably okay as long as they can play well. Tip number 3. Don't waste in your exotic slot on your heavy. It's a waste because there's only one round in the Trials of Osiris in which both teams get heavy. So you'll want to use a legendary heavy weapon, but past that, no, don't bother. Save it for something like your Thorn, or your Last Word, or your Hawkmoon, or your Bad Juju, Red Death, Meet a Multi-Tool. The list goes on, really, because if you're using a primary or a secondary even exotic, like the Icebreaker, for example, you know, you're always going to be using that gun. And the heavy you won't, because there's only one round. And I know that's kind of a given, but just in case some of you didn't know. And I don't care how aggressively tracking your truth is, and I don't care about your Galahorn or your newly purchased from Xur Thunderlord. I don't care. You're going to put your team at a disadvantage if you're not using your best exotics in your primary or secondary slot. Simple as that. As a heavy weapon in the Trials of Osiris. And the reason is because a rocket launcher that has tracking or proximity or both, you know, you can fire and forget, essentially, as opposed to an LMG where you need to be in the open firing on your opponent for a good, you know, 2 to 3 seconds at most. But still, That means you're out in the open, whereas the rocket guy can peek around the corner, fire a rocket, get back into cover really fast. And I surmise that's what's going to be happening a lot, is when heavy comes into play in the Trials of Osiris. If you do have to absolutely use an LMG, I would really recommend using one like the Joldar's Hammer that fires slowly, where you can get off 3 quick shots to the head, and something that doesn't use a lot of recoil, so you can just almost emulate what a rocket launcher user will do, and you know, pop, 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 back into cover real fast, because that's your goal. If you're out of cover for too long, you will have a proximity rocket on your butt, or you'll have a tracking rocket up your butt. So be really quick, use heavy weapons, they can get the job done fast. If you use an LMG with heavy recoil or high rate of fire, and you're missing your shots, it's gonna be all for naught, because a rocket guy will put you down before you can drain half his health. And lastly, you got tip number 5, and this one is especially important, and it requires everybody on your team to have a working microphone of at least decent quality so you can hear each other very well. I would also recommend being experienced with your teammates, and, you know, playing together in multiplayer matches. But the biggest thing is to know the map that you're playing on, and even when you're not playing control, it's also important to know where the control points are, so that you can strategically call out and say, oh hey, saw an enemy over by B, he's coming to C, and your teammates will know exactly what you're talking about, and they can act accordingly. That kind of stuff, in my experience, playing control with friends, playing Clash with friends, even in a mode where the control points aren't available, we still know exactly where we're talking about, and it gets us kills. It's super, super, very important. Because when you're on the Burning Shrine or another map and you don't know where the control points are, you're just gonna be like, all right, so I saw some guy in the back or the front. How are you going to distinguish where somebody is? It's just a lot easier to say, oh hey, he's coming over to A from C, he's in the back, he's on the side, and he's going down the stairs to A. You know, it's just a lot easier to get that. Oh, you get the mental image almost instantly when somebody uses that kind of language, that kind of terminology, so to speak. So in short, know your maps, know your control points, work together with your team, know your team, get used to their play style, and you will be golden. I hope these tips helped some of you, and good luck in the Trials of Osiris, guys. I will see you there myself. Good luck. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please drop it a like. Would love to eventually see 10 or maybe 15 likes. That would just be excellent for my channel, and I would really appreciate it. You guys have a spectacular day, and I'll see you in the Crucible. I'll leave the rest of this match in the video as well. There's just a couple of minutes left, just so you guys can see the end of it. It was a good match overall. Had a lot of fun.
Zone B secure. Heavy ammo on the way. Zone B lost. Heavy ammo available. Enemy captured Zone B.